Have you ever noticed that the night on Halloween isn't just darker than other nights? It's as if the darkness itself becomes denser-like. It seeps into the cracks between buildings, fills the space under your feet, and presses against window glass as though testing how fragile the human boundary between light and something else really is. I used to think it was just a mood, an atmosphere, a superstition. Halloween anticipation people expect horrors, so they imagine them. But now I understand that it isn't the holiday that makes the night different. It's the night that makes the holiday possible. You want to hear a story, don't you? A creepy, emotional one, soaked in fear so thoroughly that the hair on your arms stands on end. Fine. But know this, I'm not telling it to impress you. I'm telling it because I can't keep carrying it inside. Because on that night, every time I close my eyes, I hear the same footsteps behind me. I smell the damp earth and that rotting something that scraped along the asphalt. And I see the face, if it was a face at all, that watched me from the other side, from the place where humans do not belong. It all started the evening before. October 29th. The cold was strange. Not outside, but inside, as if the temperature dropped somewhere under my skin. And the city felt wrong. Lights flickering in the supermarket, elevators getting stuck, dogs howling at night, and the air occasionally carrying the smell of a wet basement. No one paid attention. Halloween was close. People assumed it was just seasonal oddities, humidity, weather. But I felt it differently. I felt it as a warning. I worked late that day. When I left the office, it was around 11. The street was empty, and the streetlights rare, old, cracked cast orange pools of light onto the wet asphalt. You know that feeling when something flickers in the corner of your eye, and you're not sure if you really saw anything. That's how it was that night. I walked and constantly sensed something moving on my left, near the buildings. Not people, no. People walk differently. They have rhythm. This clung to the walls like an insect. Too long, too silent. But I convinced myself I was tired, sleep-deprived, coffee on an empty stomach. I probably should have stopped then. Looked to the side, gathered whatever courage I had left to make sure nothing and no one was there. But I didn't. I walked faster, and with every step, it felt like something walked beside me, only on the dark side of the street. And the footsteps, they matched mine, but with a small delay, like an echo, only alive. By the time I reached home, my heart was pounding as if I'd been running the whole way. I shut the door and didn't even take off my shoes. I just stood in the hallway, listening to my own breathing. And then I heard something else. A rustling. Outside. On the doormat. As though someone dragged their fingers across it. I walked toward the door. Slowly. Didn't turn on the lights. I don't even know why. And I looked through the peephole. No one was there. But the door trembled slightly, as if something touched it. I jumped back, locked every lock, and went to my room. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there listening to the house creaking under the wind. Every sound felt like a step. Every sigh of the building like a warning. Morning came, and everything disappeared, as if none of it had happened. Light, people, cars, coffee delivery. Normality artificial and as fragile as thin glass. Do you know that feeling? When reality feels too weak, like you could tug at its edge and it would tear? The 30th came and went. Nothing happened. 31st. Everything returned. Halloween always seemed like a silly holiday to me. Masks, pumpkins, candy childish things. But that night, I decided to stay home. Something in the air was wrong, heavier than usual, as if an invisible fog lay over the streets. I sat by the window, watching kids run between buildings, parents standing nearby, arguing, laughing. Everything seemed normal, until the streetlights began to flicker. First one, then another. Then the whole street fell into darkness, and the children froze. One even dropped a piece of candy. I saw it happen through my window, through the glass etched with a thin frost pattern. And then the sound. A rustle. No, too soft a word. It was a dragging, rasping sound, like someone pulling a wet sack along the ground. Far away, but getting closer. Closer by the second. And then I noticed the children began to step back. Parents reached for their phones, but the screens wouldn't light up. And suddenly, everyone fell silent. At first I didn't see what it was. Only a shadow. Long, wrong. As if its joints were where joints shouldn't be. The silhouette moved in jerks, stretching, then contracting, as though trying to remember how humans walk. It moved straight down the middle of the street, along the wet asphalt, which inexplicably darkened beneath it, as if this thing was absorbing the light. No one screamed. No one moved. It was as if fear gripped their throats with invisible hands. And I watched. I couldn't look away, as if the shadow held my consciousness in its grasp, whispering, "Look, you must look." When it approached closer, I understood that the creature wasn't wearing a mask. It couldn't be a mask. The face, if that stretched horror could be called a face, looked like the skin had been pulled too tight. The eyes, black, completely, not reflecting any light. The mouth too wide, too deep, as if it led inward into nothing. And the fingers, thin like wires, trembling as though feeling the air. The creature stopped, then turned its head. Not smoothly, not like a person. Too fast, as if it heard my thoughts. Looked directly into my window, at me. I jumped back, fell onto the floor, and in that moment, someone knocked on my door. Slowly. Long, with fingers, exactly like on the night of the 29th. I understood. If I opened, everything would end. How, I didn't know, but it would. The knocking stopped, and outside I heard a scream, a child's. A scream so sharp something inside me tore, and I looked. I'm an idiot, I know. I should have hidden, crawled into the closet, turned off the lights, stayed still. But I looked. The creature was much closer now. Much closer. And the children, they weren't running. They moved too slowly, as if held by invisible strings. The creature raised its hand, and I saw it was pointing at me, directly at me. And in that moment, all the lights in my apartment went out.